Welcome back. So, obviously, we're revisiting an old topic here. About 3 years ago, give or take, I did a video ranking the captains of the Gotei 13, the Bleach Bleach captains, who was the weakest to strongest, in my opinion. Well, back then, I didn't have all of this, so I couldn't have an image on screen, so you'd have something more visually interesting to look at instead of my ugly mug. And B, there were characters I couldn't include on the list for a long time. At least not at their full potential. So it's never been a complete list. And even now, with this new thing I'm doing, it still won't be a complete list. But every once in a while, I kind of rethink things over, relook at it, add some new things in there. And yeah, I felt it was time to kind of revisit this topic, see if my opinions change, and kind of evolve onto it. So, about once a week now, going along with the Zanpakuto Theory videos, I'll also be doing a strongest captain class Shinigami video. Now, many things to go over here real quick. Why is this a series and not a list like the last time, a one-shot video? Well, that's a pretty easy explanation. That original video I did was long. It was long, and if I didn't pace myself right, it would be even longer, and it would trump what I did last time in terms of a length of video. And while that'd be interesting for a watch, A, for view's sake, a series works better, but B, I think it works better as a series because that way I will go down the list, we'll focus on each character we're talking about, see how he or she stacks up, and then we'll have a better idea of how to compare them. Now, obviously, that does bury the lead, ultimately, but ultimately, it's like, oh, okay, so number 20, well, this was the weakest. But the question isn't necessarily, okay, who was the weakest, but who and why are they the weakest, and so forth and so on. Why are they ranked the way they're ranked? Second, we are now, notice how I said that when I said Captain Clash Shinigami. We're not looking at just captains anymore on this list. In my view, we have to include now Captain Class Shinigami. Now, what qualifies for a Captain Class Shinigami? In fact, what qualifies any character in this list to be on this series? It factors into, one, you have to have a lot of spiritual pressure. You have to have a solid amount, something that be considered Captain Class spiritual pressure. Now, whatever the actual bare minimum to be a captain for your spiritual pressure actually is, who knows? But you have to have enough, and with rare exceptions like Zaraki before he gained Shikai and Bankai, you generally have to have access to a Shikai and a Bankai. So, for instance, Izuru, in theory, might be a Captain Class Shinigami, but we never got an idea of what his Bankai was, if he had it at all. Same with someone like maybe Yumajika. Yumajika is at minimum a lieutenant level combatant, maybe possibly a captain level combatant. But again, we never see what Yumajika's actual Bankai would have been had he used it. However, characters like Renji, we know Renji's had a Bankai for years. And by the time we get to the end of the series, it's clear, even though he's not a captain, that Renji is a captain class level fighter. Same can be said for someone like Hisagi. We know Hisagi has a Bankai. We know that from the light novels. Same for someone like Ikaku. In fact, Renji even goes up to Ikaku at one point and says, you were down, Cat, we need captains, and you are the best candidate. Because he has a Bankai. Having a Bankai in almost any sense of in almost every sense of the title of captain is almost mandatory. Kenpachi was an obvious exception to the rule until he gained. He'll always be an exception to the rule, but until he gained his actual Shikai and Bankai. So we're looking at all captain class individuals who have showcased their full roster of abilities. Now, that being said, we also gotta say right now who has now been included on this list, real quick, just two specific ones actually, and who is still not allowed on this list. Right out of the gate, no Shinigami who hasn't shown their Bankai. Even though we know, for instance, Love, and as it turned out, Lisa, because she became a captain, were captain class, so clearly they have Bankais, particularly Love, who was already a captain in the Turn Back to Pendulum. He never showed it. I can't include him on the list. Same, unfortunately, and this is a big one for the guy right in that center there, Ukitake. I'm sorry, I really wish Kubo at some point would just come out with like a like an expanded canon or expanded lore kind of filler book, just to kind of talk about like the characters who at least we know have Bankais, or what their Zanpakuto, like freaking Iba. Oh, when we get to Iba, that's going to be a hard video for Zanpakuto, to say the least. Yoruichi, I'll have an easier time with the freaking Iba. But anyway, it will at least give us an impression of what their abilities actually were. So I can't include Ukitake on this, but one character, I'm not going to say everyone who's on the list, obviously, but one character who has been added to this list, and you can judge me for adding it if you want. I'll admit I'm still a little iffy about having to add her onto the list. Is Unohana. Unohana has now been officially added to this to the strongest Shinigami series video, or a strongest Shinigami video series, because we do see her Bankai, Unohana. Unohana. Yeah, there we go. She has been she has shown her Bankai, but admittedly, we never really get a clear idea of what her static. We never get a clear idea of what her Bankai actually does, is the problem. So, this is the fandom. This is not the actual wiki. I will look into that later. That was weird. Yeah, that was the fan fiction, not the actual Bleach wiki. Now, yes, I'm going off the Bleach wiki. For most part, like the Naruto and Bleach wiki, I think are both very accurate for what they are, because they are legitimately taking everything from the manga and from like the canon sources. They aren't the official data books, to be fair. So if there are stuff in the official data books that aren't included, it's understandable. Can't argue with it. Can't argue against it. So I can completely see anyone's argument for someone who, for me taking it and not agreeing with it. I understand, but for some reason, they've updated recently Unohana's, and this is partly what made me actually decide to redo this series, Unohana's abilities, and they updated what her Bankai supposedly does. And from everything they explained, I'm not going to say what it theoretically does right now. It's pretty much what people are kind of thinking what it does. But it's pretty much what you think it does. And it does seem to coincide with what we see her do in the manga and what happens in the manga. So it's and with her character as well. So it does seem to make sense. So for what it's worth, I will be including her in this list, going off of what we see her abilities are listed, at least for Bankai, on the official wiki. And also Shinji's been added to the list because we now know what his Bankai does. So, with that being said, we will not be doing a video today. This is just to announce that the series is coming, and we'll be doing. And now that I can do like, you know, actual images, show and rotate between images, it's going to make this series a lot more. Maybe not a lot more. It goes from like me talking to a camera to and nothing else to me talking to a camera down here, me down here, and some images, which is far more effective than what I did previously. So, with that said, yes. Now that being said, one other thing: how I ranked the captains in terms of strength. That I think is another thing that we need to address real quick. It is the same thing that I did in the previous one, because no captains are created equal, obviously. And to say one captain is stronger than another because they beat a certain individual doesn't make any sense. In fact, to say any Shinigami is stronger than another Shinigami just because they were able to beat an opponent the other couldn't makes no sense. Mayuri is not stronger than Kenpachi simply because Pernida would have turned Kenpachi into a meatball had Mayuri not interfered. And Mayuri only won because he had Nemu. Let's be honest. So Mayuri's not immediately stronger than Kenpachi because of that. Mayuri was just far better equipped to handle an opponent like Pernida than Kenpachi was. Nanao is not stronger than Shunsui because Shunsui couldn't beat Lily Barrow, but her Zanpakuto was perfectly suited to doing that. We know she's not stronger than him. So the only way I can usually effectively see them ranking them in terms of strength, is to compare them by putting them each against each other. Now, there were 20 individuals for this list, so it's a 20-part series we're doing, or I'm doing. We as in the universal we. It's a 20-part series that's being done. So that means I had to do... Now, obviously, they can't fight themselves, obviously, and take Ray Guy Arc out of the equation. Even then, they win and lose all at once. So that means out of 19 bouts, how many bouts do they win between each fighter? That is what we'll be looking at and how we'll be looking at. So the first part of this series will start this coming Sunday, mind you. I'll go to basically kind of coincide with the Zanpakuto series. So right now, Sunday is Bleach Day. So... I don't have a single licking problem with that. Single licking problem. That's a weird statement. Why'd you say that? I have no idea. I don't have a damn problem with that. Anyway, so there we are. I'll leave it to you guys to guess what the rankings are. Who's coming out as number... oh, by the way, yes, Aizen's not on this list for obvious reasons. Aizen, first off, never showed his Bankai. And really, we actually never see Aizen's full capabilities before he implanted the Hogyoku. So it really actually would not be fair at all to use Aizen. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, I could put Aizen against them individually and see how they would theoretically fare. There's only a couple who could really do much against him. I digress. So, anyway, that is the announcements for the series. We will start next Sunday. Feel free to guess where the top 20 ranking is, who's in the top 20 ranking, what the first video is going to be on, all that. Have fun speculating. Until then, though, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. I got What If to do, and I'll be done for today. So thanks for watching. See you later.